It was a Friday night, the kind of evening when you usually look forward to resting after a long week. My wife, Jessica, had invited me to a dinner with her work friends and her boss, Michael, in the city of Portland, Oregon. She told me it was just a simple, casual team dinner for her group. But as I watched her get ready, I noticed things that made it feel like a much bigger deal. She put on a beautiful black dress, bright red lipstick, and high heels that I hadn't seen her wear in many months. Even though I felt a little surprised by her look, I didn't think too much of it. I was just happy for her and proud of how hard she worked. I wanted to be right there by her side, supporting her like I always did. But that night, the world I thought I knew started to fall apart completely. We went to a fancy restaurant on a rooftop in downtown Portland. It was a kind of place with soft jazz music playing, glowing candles on every table, and very expensive wine. As we sat down, I noticed that Michael, her boss, was sitting right across from Jessica. He was younger than me and wore a very expensive suit. He had a fake-looking smile and a way of acting like he was much more important than he really was. Every time Michael told a joke, Jessica laughed a little too loudly. It wasn't the normal laugh she had at home. Seeing him like that made a small, tight knot form in my stomach. I could feel that something was not right, but I stayed polite for her sake. When the words started to hurt, as our food arrived, the people at the table started talking about their lives and relationships. Someone asked how long Jessica and I had been married. I looked at her, smiled, and said, 7 years, with a lot of pride in my voice. But Michael didn't smile back. Instead, he made a mean face and said, 7 years. That's usually when women start to get bored with their lives. To my surprise, everyone at the table started laughing, and the person laughing the most was my wife. She even added to the joke, saying, well, let's just say I've had to be the one to keep things exciting lately. The sound of that laughter felt like a burn on my heart. It wasn't just a simple joke. The way she said it felt sharp and unkind. She was being playful for the other people, but she was being very mean to me in front of her friends. I tried to keep a smile on my face and took a sip of water, so no one would see how upset I was. My mind was spinning, but I stayed very quiet. I have always been a quiet person, but I have learned that being quiet does not mean a person is weak. Michael leaned closer to me with a mean grin and said, you better try harder, man. Jessica is a real prize. Someone might come along and take her away from you if you aren't careful. Speaking the truth, everyone started laughing again at Michael's comment. Jessica just giggled and tucked her hair behind her ear, acting like she was embarrassed, but enjoying the attention from him. That was the moment I decided I had heard enough. I put my fork down, leaned back in my chair, and spoke calmly. Actually, Michael, that is pretty funny coming from a man who had been secretly seeing his assistant for the last 4 months. In an instant, the laughter stopped. It was like the whole room froze in place. People stopped moving their forks, and Jessica's smile disappeared completely. Michael's face turned very pale, losing all its color. The assistant, who was sitting just 2 seats away, looked like she had seen a ghost. The silence was so heavy it felt like the air wouldn't move. I had found out about what Michael was doing weeks ago from a person I work with. I never wanted to use that information to hurt anyone, but they had pushed me too far that night. Jessica leaned over and whispered very angrily, what on earth are you doing? I looked at her, feeling very calm. I'm just joining in the fun, honey, I said. You told me I needed to be more exciting and loosen up. The table stayed completely silent. One person got up and left because they felt so uncomfortable. Michael tried to talk, but he was shaking. He said I didn't know what I was talking about. I just smiled and told him I knew everything. The private dinners, the bills from the Benson Hotel, and even the photos. Michael stood up and hurried away, his face turning bright red. Jessica just sat there, looking back and forth between me and her coworkers. I leaned in and whispered, you made fun of me look cool, but I came here to help you. Now, you just made your boss look terrible in front of everyone. Great job. When we finally got back to our home in Beaverton, Oregon, Jessica started to cry. She kept saying she was sorry and that she didn't mean to hurt me with her words. I didn't say a single word back to her. I just walked over and handed her a piece of paper. It was a copy of text messages between her and Michael. Her face went completely white. She tried to say it wasn't true, but I could see the guilt in her eyes. That was the moment she realized I didn't just know about Michael's secret. I knew about hers, too. I had put special software on her old phone weeks ago, when I felt like something was wrong in our marriage. The late nights at work and the cold hugs finally made sense. She wasn't just mocking me at dinner for fun. She was doing it because she felt guilty about what she was doing behind my back. I told her very quietly, "You didn't just hurt me tonight, Jessica. You ended our marriage." The next morning, she woke up to find all her clothes packed in bags. I had canceled her credit cards and left the divorce papers right there on the kitchen counter for her to see, moving forward with peace. I also sent an email to Michael's wife, Laura, with all the proof she needed to see the truth. Very quickly, the news spread to the whole company. Michael was told he couldn't work there anymore while they investigated him for his actions. 2 days later, Jessica lost her job too because of how she had acted and the trouble she caused. A week later, she called me crying, saying she had made a big mistake and wanted me back. I told her the truth. "You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice over and over again." Then I hung up. That was the last time we ever spoke to each other. As the months went by, I started putting my life back together. I focused on my business and finding my own peace and self-respect. The men who had laughed at me at that dinner now look away when they see me. They realize I wasn't the quiet, silly person they thought I was. I wasn't weak at all. I was just being patient. And sometimes being patient is much more powerful than being angry. Later on, Michael's ex-wife, Laura, called me to say thank you. She had left him and taken half of everything they owned. She told me I handled the situation very well. Maybe I did, but that night taught me a big lesson. Being quiet isn't a sign of weakness. Sometimes it is just a quiet moment before a very big change happens. I feel much stronger now.